We begin with the reasons why the Israelites demanded for a king. Remember, initially they were led by judges. They were led by judges. After Joshua came Samuel. After Samuel came the other judges like Ehud, Barak, Othniel, Balaam, Shamgar, Elon, and the rest. And then now the Israelites insisted that they wanted a king. So let us now look at the reasons why they wanted a king before we discuss the kings. So the Israelites demanded a king for the following reasons. Number one, Israelites wanted a king for the following reasons. Number one, they wanted a physical king. They wanted a physical king, a king they could see. Remember, they were always told to trust upon God, but they wanted a king they could see, physical, one that could live among them. So number one, they wanted a physical king. Number two, they wanted to be like the other nations. They wanted to be like the other nations. They wanted to be like the other nations who surrounded them. Like the other nations who surrounded them. Number four, they wanted, or they thought that if they had other kings, then they would conquer the other nations. But now remember, they still had to depend upon God. So reasons why they wanted a king, number one, was they wanted a physical king that they could touch, see, and who could live among them. And number two, they wanted to be like the other nations. They wanted to be like the other nations. So now, let us then look at the kings that led the Israelites. The kings that led the Israelites. The kings that led the Israelites. The first king, remember in this topic, the examiner requires you to know the king who anointed him, his achievements and his failures. You will need to know the king who appointed him, his achievements and his failures. So we begin with the first king. The first king was Saul. The first king was Saul. Remember, his father was Kish. Saul's father was Kish. The first king was Saul. His father was Kish. And he was anointed by Samuel. He was anointed by Samuel. He was anointed by Samuel. It was Saul who was anointed by Samuel. The second king was David. David, son of Saul, was David. No, sorry, not son of Saul. David, son of Jesse. His father was Jesse. David, son of Jesse. This David, remember, played a harp. He was a musician. He was an artist. He played a harp. He played a harp. He was a shepherd. This David was also a shepherd. He was a shepherd. He was a shepherd. His father was Jesse. His father was Jesse. He was anointed by Samuel. He was anointed by Samuel, and he was the youngest son of his father. The youngest son of his father. He was the youngest son of his father. Then we go to the third king who was son of David.
Solomon.
The third king who was the son of David, his name was Solomon. The son of David whose name was Solomon. Remember, his mother was Bathsheba. His mother was Bathsheba. Remember, Bathsheba was taken by David from Uriah. The Bathsheba was taken by David from Uriah. So the son of David, who was Solomon. And David had to fulfill that promise he had given to Bathsheba. So Solomon became the king. Solomon. Now Solomon was anointed by priest Zadok. and prophet Nathan. He was anointed by priest Zadok and prophet Nathan. He was anointed by priest Zadok and prophet Nathan. Then we have Rehoboam. Rehoboam, who was the king of the southern kingdom.
Pardon.
Rehoboam was the king of the south. And Rehoboam, his parents were Solomon. Solomon and Nama. Solomon and Nama. Then we have Jeroboam. Jeroboam. The first one was Jeroboam. Now we have Jeroboam. Who was the king of the northern kingdom? Was the king of the northern kingdom. And remember, Jeroboam was anointed by Ahijah. Ahijah the prophet. He was anointed by Ahijah the prophet. He was anointed by prophet Ahijah. He was anointed by prophet Ahijah. He was anointed by prophet Ahijah. And so we need to know the kings in that order. First king, Saul. Second king, David. Third king, Solomon. And who anointed them, their achievements, and their failures. Now, this order of kings can be summarized in a song like this. This order of kings can be summarized in a song like this one. This order of kings can be summarized in a song like this one. A song like this one. La 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 la. First of the king, Saul, anointed by Samuel. Then second king, David, anointed by Samuel. Then son of David, Solomon. Praise Zadok, Nathan, yeah. Then Rehoboam southern and Jeroboam southern. Jeroboam anointed by Ahijah. I repeat. La 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 la. First of the king, Saul, anointed by Samuel. Then second king, David, anointed by Samuel. Then son of David, Solomon. Praise Zadok, Nathan, yeah. Then Rehoboam southern. Then Jeroboam northern. Jeroboam anointed by Ahijah. I hope that should help you. Remember, I hope that should help you to remember the kings. I hope that should help you to remember the kings. From there now, allow me to move to something else once we have captured those kings and how they were anointed. Let us then move to something else.
I have a question.
Yes.
Which is the main reason that the Israelites demanded for a king?
The main reason that the Israelites demanded for a king was that they wanted to be like the other nations.
Thank you.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, Jauko.
Who anointed King Rehoboam?
King Rehoboam was anointed by Israelite elders.
Himself.
Just the Israelite elders. He was anointed by Israelite elders. Israelite elders. Israelite elders. Yes. Any other question? Any other question? If there's no question, then we continue. Then we now continue. And now, children, let us move to something else. Now, let us move to something else, still on Kings though. We move to something else, but still on Kings. One minute. The computer is coming funny. Something else, but still on Kings. Let us go to the first king, Saul. Saul, so right? Saul. 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 Let us go to facts about Saul. One, he was the son of Kish. He was the son of Kish. So if you see these descriptions, then you will know it is the king Saul we are talking about. One, he was the son of Kish. Two, he was the first king of Israel. He was the first king of Israel. Three, he was a handsome young man. He was a handsome young man. When he was young, he was very handsome. He was a handsome young man. Four, he lived in the land of Zuph. He lived in the land of Zuph. That is before his anointing. His anointing, sorry. He lived in the land of
Sir, please
Zuph.
spell the word.
Z-U-P-H.
Pardon?
Z-U-P-H. He lived in the land of Zuph. He was anointed by Prophet Samuel. 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 Yes. Yes. Tunaendelea. Sasa. 15 minutes. Sasa. Let us continue. You have said that he was anointed by? He was anointed by?
Prophet Samuel.
He was anointed by Prophet Samuel. That is right. He was anointed by Prophet Samuel. He was faithful to God at first. He was faithful to God at first. He was faithful to God at first. Was faithful to God at first. He later allowed the worship of idols. 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 Later allowed the worship of idols. King Saul was called by God when looking for his father's lost donkey. Was called by God when looking for his father's lost donkey. Reasons why God chose Saul as a king. Reasons why God chose Saul as a king. Reasons why God chose Saul as a king. One, the Israelites had demanded for a king. The Israelites had demanded for a king. Two, he was young and handsome. He was young. And three, he trusted in God. Three, he trusted in God. Three, he trusted in God. Let us now look at the reasons why King Saul was rejected as king of Israel. The reason why King Saul was rejected as king of Israel. The reason why, and sometimes you are asked the reason why God was angry with King Saul. So the reason why King Saul was rejected as king of Israel. One, he disobeyed God's commands. He disobeyed God's command. Number two, he performed priestly duties. He performed priestly duties. There's noise in the class now. He performed priestly duties. He performed priestly duties. He performed priestly duties. If you have a child next to you, learn to mute yourself. He performed priestly duties. Let me find out who this is that is making noise. Techno one. Who is this Techno one? Mute yourself and turn on your camera. Techno F1. Sheila Mukiri. Noise. Yaoko. Noise. Let me mute all of you. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask. I'm muting everybody. Now, let us go to the next area. We are still dealing with this person called who? Saul. The person called Saul. He performed priestly duties. He spared animals captured in war against the Amalekites. That means he disobeyed God. He disobeyed God. He spared animals captured in war against the Amalekites. He spared animals captured in war against the Amalekites. That is disobedience, you know, that is disobedience. He spared animals captured in war against the Amalekites. He consulted a medium at Endor. He consulted a medium at Endor. He consulted a medium at Endor. Endor. E-N-D-O-R. Endor. He consulted a medium at Endor. He consulted a medium at Endor. Now, Christian lessons learned from King Saul. Christian lessons that we learn from King Saul. The Christian lessons that we learn from King Saul include: 1, obey God's commands. Christians should obey God's commands. Obey God's commands. 2, obey God's commands. 2, trust in God. Remember, he was chosen because he trusted in God. So trust in God. Trust in God. 3, doing God's will. Doing God's will. Doing God's will. 3, sins separate man from God. Sins separate man from God. And 4, leadership comes from God. Leadership comes from God. Leadership comes from God. Leadership comes from God. Any question up to that point? Any question up to that point?
Yes.
Any question up to that point?
Yes.
Yes, continue.
What is to consult a medium?
To consult a medium. No, mediums were some sort of witches. You know, these people who say that they are able to speak to the dead, you know, or speak to the dead or something like that. So Saul, at some point, he had problems when the Spirit of God had left him. Remember, when the Spirit of God left him after disobeying God and after performing priestly duties, and the Spirit of God left him. Then now Saul was possessed by an evil spirit. He was disturbed by an evil spirit. And so Saul wanted to speak to Samuel. But now, because he could no longer speak with God, he decided to go and see a sort of a witch, a diviner, a woman who said she could see, she could speak to the dead. So she went to consult this woman, and the woman called out the spirit of Samuel to speak to Saul. So this medium is a person who was able to speak to the dead, using spirits to speak to the dead. So that is the person that was consulted by Saul. So to consult is to visit, to talk to ask for advice from someone. And this was now a medium. Any other question?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Yes.
Yes?
What priestly duties did he perform?
Louder, please.
What priestly duties did he perform?
He offered a sacrifice. He offered a sacrifice. He offered a sacrifice. Yes, any other?
Yes.
Jane?
At where the reasons why God chose him to be a king, what is the statement of number 2?
He was young.
Thank you.
It was young. So, girls, therefore, once we have discussed all these, then we are through with King Saul. We're now supposed to go to King David. We're now supposed to go to King David. But I think so far we have covered enough for the day, CRE. So we can leave CRE at that. When we meet tomorrow, we'll begin with King David. Tomorrow we begin with King David. Otherwise, I want to thank you for listening. Thank you all for joining in. We are going to log in with the same link at 12:15 for Kiswahili. We log in with the same link at 12:15 for Kiswahili. I'm giving you roughly a 10-minute break or thereabout, 8-minute break or thereabout. So we log in with the same link for Kiswahili. Spread the word to your friends. Let them join, so that we are many. I want you to fill this screen so that I now have to use a wall, a projector. Okay. And I'm not seeing Mukiri. Is Mukiri here? I'm not seeing Mukiri today. Mukiri, are you there? Mukiri has vanished. So we join in with the same link for Kiswahili in 10 minutes, 12:15. Is that clear for everybody?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
God bless you. God bless you.